Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Buddy Study Group for Worksite Solutions. And I in the title for our agenda, I kept things relatively vague. I believe I titled it something like a new employee sales journey, something of that nature. But essentially, we are going to be demoing a new tool that we have that we're making use of with enrollments right now, actually, some of our pilot groups. And many of you know that uh, our actuaries per capita at Buddy INS is very high, and we love calculators, even those of us who are not actuaries by trade. They've been a very successful piece of what we do and what we offer to employees to help them feel good about their decision making. And recently, we have kind of embarked on a journey to expand beyond what just the calculator can offer. The fact that it was a big enough win to show pricing and benefits and value directly on an enrollment landing page before you get into an enrollment platform was great. But I think everyone on our team knew that there was more potential there. So especially you, Gretchen, but our team at large has been working with one of our tech partners to create a step-by-step journey that really walks employees through a number of things beyond just their benefit and what it offers. It really does kind of walk people through long-term care planning, but it really personalizes their journey of discovery overall, if I'll take your words, Gretchen. Um, and I think there's probably no better way to add some description to this than by demoing this tool. But I think that you'll find that it is more personalized and welcoming than most other journeys or educational pages that you've seen for enrollment. So it's something we're really excited to show off. And as I share this with you, I'd love to get an idea of your feedback, not just what you think from a it looks cool standpoint, but also I'd be really interested to hear what you think about the language, the order of the journey, anything of that nature. So this is the page where our demo of this lives. And Gretchen, since you've done a lot of the behind the scenes work on this, is there anything that you want to say about this before we kick it off and walk right through the demo itself?
I don't, just something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later is as Jason is taking you through this, um, just think for yourself about, how many times you've gone through a similar journey. Maybe it would be more like on the term life side, um, or not even in insurance, where you've dropped off and you haven't finished it. So just keep that in mind, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I think that's a really important aspect of this whole thing as well, right? Is that it is similar to maybe other journeys you could take outside of the insurance world. And I think that's been not necessarily a mantra, but something we always keep in mind when choosing tech partners and deciding what to really add to our enrollment capabilities is uh, if it can be familiar to other experiences people commonly take, I think that can the insurance industry in general could use a little bit more of that.
I think one other thing that you just reminded me of was when talking about the tech partner is we worked with someone or with a team who had some insurance experience. They didn't have any long-term care insurance experience though. But so they were able to go in and really hone in on the messaging and the copy. And I think you'll see that reflected as Jason walks you through this.
Yeah, it'll give off the sense that it was built with some fresh sets of eyes and really just sharp minds that can keep it simplistic.
Right, right.
So, just to walk you through this, this looks just like an unassuming landing page, but the journey really kicks off when you click learn more about my LTC offer. And that takes you through a process that right away we are trying to not only make this a bit more personal, choose an avatar that you identify with, right? But also to make it a little bit fun. And it's funny because some of the feedback that we've gotten centered around the avatars has been pretty funny. If you'll notice, there's an absence of blondes, and the blonde community has been rather upset by this, and maybe in a future update we'll see that. But you can just select through a number of different avatars. I'm going to choose this one. Is it bad that I kind of feel like I almost look like generic avatar number one? Am I everyman? Um, but hitting continue, you put in your name, you put in your email address, and it'll walk you through some more questions. How old are you? Yes, I'm 34 years old. What state do you live in? California for me. And then provocative question before we dive into the benefit at all. So we've kind of set our perspective, set our basic biographical information, the easy stuff to get through, right? And then asking, have you ever been a caregiver for a loved one is just a really good way to start this off in a thought-provoking way, get you thinking about what long-term care is, right? If you come here and you're not necessarily familiar, if somebody says it right on paper, have you heard of long-term care insurance? People will be like, well, I don't know. No. Oh, but I have been a caregiver for a loved one. Okay. It's kind of right up your alley then. Or, you've been touched by something that long-term care insurance helps to um, assist with, essentially. And then again, more personalization. You can see how this is kind of already becoming more dynamic than um, a static calculator, which of course has served us well, but we always knew that there was room for this sort of personalization. Even in the way we set defaults on calculators was kind of assuming this, but we can ask people right out of the gate, is it affordability that matters most to you, or is it getting something that is truly going to be as comprehensive as possible? So that will give us an idea of what the calculator will show them as a baseline as we walk through. You can also hit, I'm not sure yet. That is very common. I'm just going to hit finding affordable coverage. And you can see we default to a $25,000 death benefit amount in that case, but we make a number of, different options available based on the proposal, right? This works the same way that our calculators do, where we are essentially customizing this to a given group based on what they've received in the proposal. So when you get through these initial questions, you'll be presented with a death benefit amount. I forget what comprehensive ends us up at as a default, but no matter, you are able to select through
It's a
uh,
hundred thousand.
that's what I thought. So for me, showing a monthly premium of $31 at age 75, showing a max long-term care benefit because we're the standard California plan in this case with 5% inflation for the group whole life. It's showing me my max long-term care benefit at age 75. It's talking about things like, premiums are locked in. It will explain what the max LTC benefit means. So very apparent tool tips that give nice descriptions. And I just really like how it makes the language of how this is all working so simple. This sets both your long-term care coverage and what your beneficiaries receive. You can adjust this later. We're just exploring options right now. So you can feel as if you are very walked through this process. This is probably my favorite screen because explaining this verbally and explaining this as somebody who has been a trained, insurance professional for a decade, we can tend to over-explain this. And I think this was an advantage of our tech partner having some insurance experience, but really having no long-term care experience. We, of course, overloaded them with information on our end. That's what we do. And they came back with really simplistic language for consumers to understand how this works. All right, select a death benefit amount. Sets your monthly premium and what your beneficiaries receive. It converts into a living benefit. Couldn't think of a simpler way to say that. If you need long-term care, your benefit pays out monthly cash payments, and then it's got a little tooltip explaining that there's 5% annual inflation protection to help cover the cost of care that rises over time. So shows you your initial monthly benefit, $1,500 a month, 17 months of coverage, and then extension rider doubles your coverage. So it shows your death benefit amount up here. It shows your total long-term care here. Adds another 17 months of monthly payments after your initial benefit runs out. And then your death benefit is restored. Even if you use your full long-term care benefit, 25,000 is restored for your beneficiaries, giving you a $75,000 total insurance benefit in this case. I just love the white text. If you read that one after another, it is so, so simple to explain it. You select your death benefit amount, it converts into a living benefit should you need it. The extension rider doubles your coverage, and your death benefit is restored. Very, very simple. And even the explainer text is very simple to one sentence. And I think this is always something we struggle with is the brevity. But I think the way this lays out is something that I find very satisfying. And then all of a sudden you hit that continue button and I get old. So it will age your avatar, custom, right? And what if you ever need care? And it's going to put you in the shoes, it's going to put me in the shoes of the 75-year-old version of myself. And if you never need care, you still receive your death benefit payout. Your beneficiaries will still receive the full death benefit, providing financial securities for your loved ones, no matter what. So I think I'm going to stay old, or I'm going to compare my young self to my old self, my today self to 41 years from now. And it's going to do a little bit of a comparison if you needed care today versus, when most people need care. We're using 75 as a claim age just as a default here, as a kind of when most people need care. Could totally see this, especially in plan designs with inflation protection, going out to 80, 85, something of that nature. But this is where the avatar actually really shines. It's kind of jarring to see your avatar get 41 years older. But now that we're doing this comparison from today into the future, number one, you're getting an idea of my benefit's going to grow and be there when I'm most likely to need it. But also, I'm doing this planning for a long time out into the future, potentially, right? It's really going to put into perspective. This is about taking care of your financial security when you're aging, but it's very hard to get there mentally. This is one of the better ways I've seen to actually kind of put you in that perspective. Because saying to somebody, when you're 75, 80 years old, you'll need this, you'll need that, you'll have this, you'll have that, it doesn't do much justice. So I think it's a small touch, but it really has more of an impact than kind of meets the eye here. So it's going to show you your immediate benefits and then showing me the power of the inflation protection, right? If I buy a $25,000 death benefit, I'm going to have $11,088 a month with that compound inflation protection at 75. So it is going to um, just characterize, again, a number of the important things to talk through here. 5% compounding annually, cash benefit paid directly to you when you qualify. Your coverage grows from this to this over 41 years. Your premium stays locked in place no matter how much your benefits grow. All right. So again, the power of simple explanation really helps to drive the point home without inundating, I think. And then, of course, another popular module we've always done, but is brought to life in a different way. What if I paid for care for myself And it's again giving us, if we took that same monthly premium, and put it in the market with a 5% annual rate of return assumption, here's what my account balance would be over that 41 years versus how much total long-term care benefit do I have? And what is kind of the net gain and total long-term care benefit versus what I would have in that market account. And it's showing me that total. Here's how much total premium or total funding I would do over that period of time. Um, and it kind of explains self-funding as opposed to just kind of laying it out as a module, which requires some extra explanation. Most people who need long-term care rely on personal savings, investment, and family support to cover their care. Here's how self-funding compares to long-term care coverage when you set aside the same amount each month. So again, I think a lot of the genius obviously is in this nice UI, but a lot of the genius lies in simple explanation. And once we get to this screen, essentially we are at our calculator experience, right? So we are able to now play around with the policy start age. What age are we going to claim? So I can look at this at age 85, for example, and maybe I like the value of what I got. So I look at 50,000 and just keep it this way. I actually own this specific plan design right here. So it's nice to be able to come in here and get a nice reminder, but you can pop up this little compare tab as well, and you can compare based on the same modules that we have in our quick quote calculator. So if you want to compare it to, oh, that's right. This is actually pretty interesting. I love that it does this. Um, the model that we use for traditional long-term care, I'm not even old enough to qualify for. So that's actually a very interesting revelation for somebody who is like me in their 30s, looking to compare to other long-term care that's out there, and they find, well, this is actually going to get you in the door earlier too. Out on the individual market, we may not have options available yet. We have to wait until you're 6 insurance years older, and then we'll be able to give you a rate. But I could, out of curiosity, say, okay, what if I'm age 40? What is it going to look like? My premiums will change over here, but I can make those comparisons to hybrid plans. I can make those comparisons to traditional plans and get an idea of based on the cost, based on the total benefits, and based on the insurance multiplier. I think the total benefit being the highlight, being the star of the show, is kind of those um, jarring numbers actually really helps, but it is nice to kind of see the cost value represented there as well with the insurance multiplier. Obviously, I'm comparing to generate that multiplier, I'm using two things, and they're the most bolded elements, right? The premium I'm paying and the total benefit I get out. So it helps to make a bit more of an intuitive sort of comparison. I'm paying significantly less for this plan than this over here. I'm getting a bit more benefit, but maybe not equal to the amount I'm saving actually looking at this group plan. So I really like what it can do from that standpoint. And we'll go back to myself on the self-funding side. And of course, we saw a little bit of this comparison, but now that we've swung it out to benefit age of 85, also not claim age anymore, looking at benefit age for this particular module. Um, and still some of the same features you see, like if you buy up into simplified issue amounts or set the calculator that way, it will trigger the correct underwriting requirements, which is really helpful. And you can still look at spouse coverage. But overall, I think it's just a nice way to pre-educate before you get into the calculator. And it is not as if we are just trying to hoover in as much information about you as possible before we give you the education that you need with this tool, which I find um, really, there's a lot of delightful little things hidden in here. Picking out the avatar in the first place, the avatar suddenly aging without notice. I think those things kind of make it fun, give you a little chuckle, and really get you thinking. So once we get through that, we're done with the calculator. You can click that enroll button on that previous screen, and there's a couple of things you can do. Of course, schedule a call with a long-term care specialist consultant and to actually enroll. So this kind of talks through what can you do when you talk to a specialist, or how do most people navigate that conversation. It's got some benefit reminders, um, and generally there will be a path to an enrollment pay or the enrollment platform itself if this was connected. This is a demo page, but for enrollments we're using this for, it's a very continuous process. Somebody can start their journey, walk through that kind of learning journey, and at the end actually go straight into the enrollment platform and enroll with one click, which is super helpful. It is something that has always been up in the top corner of our pages and people could go there anytime. But even just little placements from a UI UX perspective, I think make a lot of difference. Um, from people going from the calculator and then hitting enroll, when they feel like they're walked to the end to those calls to action. If you're not ready yet, schedule a call with a specialist or you can enroll, which I think is helpful. I also think this piece is super helpful. What will I need for enrollment? This is simple information. If you've bought insurance products before, it may not be anything super new to you, but I also think there are many people who will actually go into an enrollment platform, realize they don't have all the info on hand they need to complete the application, uh, and shut it down until they do, and either forget about it or, are a little bit disgruntled and never go back in. So I think it's really helpful to have this list of information right up here handy while you go into the enrollment platform, so you can really enroll when it is the absolute right time. So this is our general walkthrough. And of course, you can actually use these upper elements here to actually rewind a bit into the experience, which is also very helpful. So if you felt like you wanted to review a screen again, you could do that. Mark, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the experience is a big part of what gets people to conversion. So we're already seeing, dividends on that piece. But the other thing I like as a techie person is that we can track where they are in the journey. And these actually turn into leads that come through to us that we can give to the sales team to reach out to people that didn't finish the journey too. And I think that's really important for certain enrollments we do, especially the association enrollments we do and others where there's a stronger need for a specialist outreach. So the broker or the specialist has a very important role, not just wait for them to book a call with you, but for you to actually be proactive and reach out to them. Because they're much more interested when they've started this process than if you've just sent them an email that they haven't clicked on.
100%. I think that is super helpful to know where they fell off. It's the same as with the enrollment platform itself. Knowing where people fell off in the application can give you some pretty powerful information, not only about what concerns people that causes them to drop off, but is something broken, right? We've gotten some data like that to understand that, one piece of the enrollment platform needed a question fixed or something of that nature. And then to be able to reach out to those people because they dropped off there, to let them know that, we've made a fix to the enrollment platform. If you planned on finishing your application, you won't find yourself stuck anymore. But I think just being able to take that data in is huge. Um, and you can schedule, and we obviously receive the contact information of this person to pass along to the specialist so that there can be a really nice bit of continuity and line of communication when it comes to getting your enrollment completed. The specialist could give a follow-up to say, hey, I really appreciated our time a couple days ago. Just wanted to see if you had any last minute questions to walk you through, whatever it may be. I think it really helps not just to walk somebody through a journey, but also reach out your hand if you kind of need to pull them, if they want to be pulled, right? So all of these things, I think, really help um, stop leaks that are not an intention of either side. We don't intend to let somebody leak out of the process, and they don't intend to leak out of the process themselves due to one thing or another. Those are the real matches that we want to make. We want to make sure that person can finish their process. And of course, we always have that interest that anybody who starts it, as long as they intended to finish it, we want to make sure we make good on that. So, super helpful. Um, Anything else you wanted to add there, Mark? Or Gretchen, I know you had some other elements on what we get on the data side, what we plan to do with the data side for enrollments, or anything else just in the journey of building this.
Yeah, I'm going to back up a little bit.
Hmm.
One of the reasons, well, there were for me a couple of reasons why we built this or why we wanted to build it, and one is um, kind of every marketing person's challenge, and that is especially with a product like this, you want to get the person into the story. And this journey or whatever we call it, calculator journey, does that. Um, Way better than any static page we have right now. Um, with the avatar and the way it changes and being able and the questions that it asks. um, like early in the process, like have you ever had experience with caring for a loved one, or asking what is your primary goal here? Is it fully fund, I can't remember what we call it off the top of my head, but fully funding, or are you looking at maximizing your budget? So those are important points to get people thinking. So they're in the journey and they're invested in this story that we're moving them through. So that was one thing. The second thing then is what Jason was talking about, and Mark, is the data. So we just saw, I think it was last week, all of the data that's flowing to Buddy through this system is uh, is just amazing. So we can tell what point somebody dropped off. We can tell if they played with the calculator, where did they what amount did they pick, and then did they drop off? All of those data points um, give us a lot of power, and the power is we can reach out to them, so we can do outbound campaigns. If somebody's dropping off, in the calculator, does that mean they thought it was too expensive? Do they need to be walked through that? Do we need a specialist to reach out to them? So there's that. But the other piece of it is collectively all of this data. I can see us reporting out after a couple of years, collectively. This has been our experience. More people say they have, 60% of people say they have experience with long-term care. Yet only 20% of those people are willing to maximize the funding piece of it. So, there's just so much information we're going to be able to get out of this that will help us communicate with potential policyholders and enrollees, but also help the industry move forward with just way more rich data than what
Helping
we
us
have now.
educate better, I
Right.
think, as well,
Yeah.
is such a key piece to this, is that data will be able to tell us, um, where might we need to sharpen up language, or where might we need to speak more directly to one piece of this plan or another? Where might we be getting too wordy and inundating people? I think all of that definitely matters. I think for me, the first couple of times I ran through this start to finish, I realized I will be using this for webinars where we use this process.
Mhm.
Because before, I was simply going through the landing page itself. The landing page, has always done a great job of providing education and providing the calculator with rates. I can do most of a webinar from a landing page instead of from a slide deck, which I prefer. It's interactive, and this is interactivity to an entirely different level and showing people, hey, you can walk through this exact journey. And if my talking points are coming from this, you know that a lot of really high quality education that you need to receive to truly understand this benefit is going to be yours by going through it.
Right. And Steve asked if it's available. We have two enrollments happening right now that are using it, and we'll be rolling it out to other enrollments. Yeah, like we're already working on the next enrollment. So yes, there is a demo that's available. And but I don't think it's in the portal yet, but we'll get you access to that.
I guess that would be one thing to for us to characterize to the group. Um, which enrollments would we use this versus where wouldn't we? And kind
Yeah,
of the ability to scale this as a whole. I mean,
that
obviously
is,
we're still
yeah,
going through that planning. We're early in the process, but
that is the question. Yeah. So right now it's on some of our larger enrollments and associations. But yeah, we're trying to figure out, how can we scale this in a way that will allow us to use it on some of the smaller enrollments too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it will take some time
the good
development.
aspect is we do have all of the carriers built into it,
Mhm.
right? Because we have calculators for all the carriers, and this draws, the same rates that we've developed for all of those products. So it just comes down to, trying to figure out how not to customize it for every single group.
Another nice
That's a
thing
fit, but we don't
is,
want to have to have like developers building every single
Right,
test separately.
right,
right.
right.
Another nice thing is that with the standard especially, our premier underwriting offer runs from 3 to 249 lives. So a lot of those cases will actually be the same sort of journey, though experience in your state may vary in plan design, in product chosen. There's still a lot to go through to scale this. Obviously, the data doesn't come from nowhere. We generally have that list of employees and we have buy-in from the employer ahead of time to utilize these kinds of journeys as well. So there is a lot to scale there, but we are excited to bring this to more people across the country, more groups around the country, because we feel really good about the education that this provides at a baseline that we couldn't really do before,
Mhm.
honestly.
Can I also just ask a question of the group? Something, Gretchen, that you said earlier piqued my interest. So we asked that caregiver question, and one of the things that we can do with that is if they say yes to that caregiver question, we can reach back out to them with a caregiver solution.
Mhm.
Because we know there's caregiving solutions that are in the market as well. Think about what question would you want to ask that if they were to say yes to it, it gives you a door opener, way
Mhm.
to reach out to them, maybe to talk about this benefit, but also to help them meet them where they're at to solve their problem. So it's not a cold call, right? You're actually
Right.
responding to something that they've asked for help with. But we can add it, whatever questions make sense in that journey. And I think that's one of the powerful tools that you have on the sales side is you know when to reach out to somebody.
Mhm.
Yep. I think just in general, giving more touch points, giving more opportunities to be helpful is one of the biggest pieces of this. Obviously, since, I do hundreds of webinars a year, I'm like geeking out about the education, right? Because I'm having to try to Generally point out, depending on which partners I'm working with on the tech side, I'm having to actually go and point out things on the webinar, look back on the recording so that you can remember these things. But now I can just say, I'm going to walk you through what I recommend you walk through, and it's going to take care of a lot of what you need to know and give you a lot of the information that you need. And as soon as you're done, you're going to be able to enroll. But that opportunity to build in calls to action, or even just to ask questions that people can provide answers to that allow you to be helpful to their situation is a big unlock, I think.
Yeah, and to alert the specialist that somebody is really interested. So really being able to dive into the data on the users and sort of parse that out to figure out who's most likely to close here. And uh, Dale, you need to reach out to them, or so and so, you need to reach out to them and let's get this closed. So
It's far better than a not necessarily nameless, it's a list of names, but a faceless list of people is I've done it before. You've all done it before if you're on this call. It is really hard to just rip through a list of people. You have no idea of their
right,
context. You're
yeah,
going to have to unravel that. Calling through a list of people if you're working with associations or working with some, larger non-traditional group, especially, it is incredibly time consuming and difficult to call through them all. But we do, right? Because that's what we do. It's what we have to do. It doesn't mean it has to be difficult. So I think it's really helpful to, even after you've made a first pass, even, that somebody has actually taken action and they've gone through to the tool. And if you're able to be notified of that, I think there is a lot of power in not being creepy, not
yeah.
spying, not saying I've been watching you, um, but essentially just, hey, I just wanted to see if you needed any help. I noticed you were, doing some of the educational journey. And if there's anything that I can do, I just wanted to offer you a direct line of communication with somebody who can help.
I wanted to mention one other thing, Jason, which is selling to the employer. This is a very powerful tool to demo for the employer, right? Because it's going to give them confidence that you have a process in place that's going to make their job easier. It's going to motivate them to want to bring this to their employees, right? It's different from other benefits that they offer as well. So I do think it will get your foot in the door. It will help you in competitive situations. We've won a lot of cases just by bringing in the enrollment platform and the tools if you're in a competitive situation. And I don't think we're going to discontinue by any means the current calculator that we have, right? So you can choose whether you want to have that on the page. There's sometimes we have specialist teams that like having that calculator still. But the fact is it gives you one more tool to help you with that sale, to help get employer funding, from the employer that oftentimes can help move the needle because they're more motivated to want to, win the case. And when they have to meet minimum participation, a lot of times that's what's encouraging the employer funding.
Yeah.
Unum cases too, we've seen a lot, how do I help explain what I'm doing if I'm moving my employees over from a Unum policy to one of these group hybrid plans? It's really important that they don't have that friction of employees coming to them and unhappy about that switchover. So again, it just gives them the confidence to make those decisions. We actually had Unum discontinue for new hires in February, but we're seeing a lot of employers dragging their feet on making this
Crazy.
decision to move into the new plan. You need something to help nudge them to action and create a deadline for them too, because the problem doesn't get better if you wait. We're only hearing about more rate increases and more noise that is going to make it more difficult. So getting them done quickly is helpful for the employer too.
We're seeing groups find out for the first time that they don't have anything to offer to their new hires from like a notice that there's going to be a rate increase. I mean, it's pretty funny. Um, just how disconnected you can feel from the benefit. And in this case, I've never seen something that drives such connection to an employee benefit before. And that is really what gets participation and utilization when you feel connected to the benefit. And like what you said, Mark, being able to do door openers for other things that are tangential to long-term care insurance but are essential in the process, that also makes you feel more connected to the benefit. You're going to use and hold the benefits you feel most connected to. So I
Mhm.
think that's a big piece of it. It may sound abstract, but it's kind of a foreign concept for the most part right now, just because of the current infrastructure.
Mhm. Yeah, if you end up having a big case, and it could just be because the employer is funding a lot of premium, not necessarily a lot of employees, and this is going to help you sell that case. Don't worry about, well, what can I offer this for enrollment? Like Steve, what your question was. If it's a big case, we're going to, make sure we support you for it. We just don't want to have a situation where it's like a small, all voluntary case, and we're putting a lot of this investment resources because we think that you should be pushing them towards making sure it's successful on your side and their side. It's easy to kind of make accommodations, right, for important clients or partners or that kind of thing. But we just want to kind of set some rules of the road that, yeah, if you think it's a big opportunity, just ask, just bring it to us. We're happy to support you. We can choose, right? And you can choose how much effort you put into this, how much investment you put into this. But we don't want to give you false expectation, right? That we're just going to roll this out for every single group because it's not without, work to do that. So I hope that makes sense.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, thoughts on this? I was foaming at the mouth to be able to demo this because it's really exciting. The more I demo it for people, the more excited I get about it. But if you have any other feedback, feel free to let us know. Gretchen, I think it would be really cool to actually have the team behind this on a study group
Oh,
in the
yeah.
future to talk about
They
their
they are
experience.
fantastic to work with. And
They're
they're in Australia, and so just listening to them talk is fun.
a couple of very nice Aussies,
Yeah.
and it's like the start of their day when we meet with them in the
Yeah.
afternoon. So hilarity always ensues.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're like dead on the time of getting
Mhm.
people out on time.
Hey.
Um, love to demo this to the producer or employer. Yeah. Oh, that's one thing we can answer before we go. Um, do we feel like there will be a time where we'll be able to have this demo, say, offered in the portal in some sense in the buddy system, Gretchen?
Yeah.
Whether
Uh,
not now, but maybe when well, I don't know. I
well,
guess
yeah,
that
no, I think we can. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
okay. And we'll make sure you know when it's available and where to find it. It'll
Yes.
probably be worked into all of our other demo pages and those packages in the marketing section.
Yeah.
We always demo it for you guys first because then you can help us find all the bugs and then make sure that we put it out there the right way.
Yes. Hopefully
They,
not.
they our tech partners always compliment our feedback, and I always say like, okay, we'll give you feedback that just hits our mind the second it does, but wait till we put it in front of our community. They're
Yeah.
like complete man eaters. They'll give you stuff that will
Uh,
really improve this. So always appreciate you guys being audience to a lot of these demos, whether we're showing you stuff before they go live to anyone or just are kind of in the pilot process. We really appreciate your perspective and your
mhm,
feedback.
for sure.
And I think that's it.
All right.
We'll get you
Cool.
back to the rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
Have a
Bye.
great rest of your week. Be well. We'll talk to you soon.